What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, Joker back again, once again, and today, people, I stopped editing an 18-page, 5,402-word dissertation on the undeniable truth that the worm gods are in fact the Ahamkara to bring you some really cool news that I think fans of Destiny's lore will be excited to hear. I know I was excited to hear it. So in an interview with Games Radar, Steve Cotton and Scott Taylor talked about some of the coming updates to Destiny 2 in Forsaken. Mods, Year 1 to Year 2 gear transfer, the Dreaming City, most of the stuff we already know. And of course, I'll leave a link to the article in the description below for anyone who hasn't read the entire thing, or there might be things like mods or gear changes that you're not caught up on. But today, people, the thing that brings us here, the thing that made me make this video, is the wonderful, awesome, amazing thing that got me hot under my collar, got my gears grinding, got my blood pumping in the ways of old, if you know what I mean. In this article, Scott Taylor and Steve Cotton talk about the future of lore in Forsaken. Now, if executed properly, if executed like they're talking about, this is quite possibly the best thing to ever happen to lore and storytelling in the Destiny franchise. Now, granted, there's no accounting for what stories will be written, or if those stories will be any good, but the systems that they have created to incorporate lore into the game are absolutely amazing. Not only are they a step in the right direction, but they are a hop, skip, and a jump in the right direction. Now all they have to do is write good stories. Oh, fuck. Anyways, the article states, the systems that we have where you collect lore, the way they walk and feel right now is like opening up a little book and reading the stories. There are short stories, there are long stories that you will discover in the world and open up in the game that you can collect by killing bosses, finding items in the world like dead ghosts and little drones that tell stories that are either one part or maybe three. Or maybe you'll find out what Uldren was doing between Taken King and how he ended up in that prison. Those things are all in game, and they're all very addictive. It has the aesthetic of a book, and you can open it up in game, and it'll tell you a story about each of the Barons before you go kill them, and why they're in the prison, and what happened to them. There's a novel worth of stuff in the game. We haven't even read all of them, but the localization team came to us and said, we're localizing this stuff, and this is really good. I'm crying at my desk. These are great stories. Now, the article does have a bit of an author comment, where he writes, what this means for Destiny 2 Forsaken. As soon as Tyler mentioned dead ghosts, I did panic that Grimoire cards were making a return. But thankfully, this is a much more organic, lore-loving way to introduce a wider backstory. I'm more than ready for a novel worth of additional content, maybe even in physical form too, Bungie? And it's just another indication of how integrated the story is in the wider game. Bring on September 4th. First, boom! There's your physical lore. Second, are you joking? As soon as Tyler mentioned dead ghosts, I did panic that Grimoire cards were making a return. Fuck that, and fuck you. I'll agree, 150%, that the Grimoire was not the best execution of extra story content ever. That said, you're panicking over the return of the Grimoire. Even if it was returned in the exact same fashion as it was in Destiny 1, this is overdramatic idiocy. And I know, I'm very good at being overdramatic. But oh no, they're bringing back this feature that has no effect on the way that the story has ever been told in the game, but enhances the world. Oh no, but it was slightly inconvenient in its original iteration. Oh, woe is me. How dare they bring this back? How dare they bring back something I can choose not to engage with? I mean, don't get me wrong, he's wrong about the system, and he knows he's wrong when he writes that, but it's just this kind of if I can't have it the way I want it, I don't want it. And I might be going on a tangent here because of the stupidity here, oh, yes, I'm getting exactly what I want, but let me go ahead and be hyperbolic and talk about how I panicked over the return of the Grimoire cards. With Destiny 2, they removed the Grimoire. And what exactly did we get? Some lackluster lore tabs, some atrocious comic books that you have to go online to read, mind you, one mediocre base game, and 2 retcon-filled DLCs. Bro, they could bring back the lore in the exact same way it was in Destiny 1, and anyone and everyone who gave a shit about the lore, who actually cared, would be screaming from the mountaintops, "It's raining lore! Hallelujah, it's raining lore! Amen, it's raining lore!" I'm just saying. The way the writer phrased it, it comes off as they would rather have no lore than be slightly inconvenienced. Well, it's not a point because they're putting it in the game. So, what's with the... Why did you even make that comment? Oh, I panicked over the return of the Grimoire. Like, whatever. Oh, jeez. It's funny to mock. I apologize. If anybody got annoyed by that, I just thought it'd be funny to mock it. Like, what? Anyways, I like how they've taken the lore and placed it into this book-like interface. It's something that's been suggested numerous times since Destiny 1 Day 1, but Byf probably did create the most comprehensible concept of it to date, and if it's even remotely that well thought out, on Bungie's end at least, then it'll be a great addition to the game. And an air quote novel's worth of lore being added to the game after a year of little to virtually no lore depending on the release is really exciting. That being said, I do have a couple of worries here. Steve Cotton is the guy who hyped up the removal of the Grimoire to begin with almost a year ago. He hyped it up, he said that they were going to introduce different facets of the lore into the world via scannables, via lore tabs, which proved to be lackluster or non-existent depending on the release. I'm looking at you, Curse of Osiris scannables. Don't get me wrong, there were some amusing things and there were some gems, but it wasn't enough to justify the wholesale gutting of the Grimoire. So I am a little nervous when the guy who was like, yeah, removing the Grimoire is gonna be great! We're gonna put so much lore in the game, you're gonna be complaining about how much lore there is in the game and you won't even miss it! And now he's saying, oh yeah, this new Grimoire system, it's gonna be great! There's gonna be so much lore, it's gonna be like a novel! Oh yeah, I haven't even read it all, but I can assure you it is going to be great! Because I know people who have and they cry at their desk because it's so great! Again, overdramatic silliness aside, this is the guy who, you know, did say that the Grimoire going away was going to be great, and now he's back here saying, this is gonna be great. So I am a little apprehensive. That said, I am willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on this, because, simply put, theoretically, this should be really, really hard to fuck up. Like, to fuck this up would take some Herculean effort in missing the goddamn point to fuck this up. There aren't words in the human lexicon of knowledge across all languages, across all cultures, across all time and space that would be capable of describing the sheer amount of stupidity and missing of the goddamn point if Bungie fucks this up. We would have to go Shakespearean on their asses and just make up new words to describe how fucked up this would be if they fuck it up. Because this would be so simple to do. I mean, codexes since time immemorial in video games have been doing this, but all they would have to do is put the lore in the game, right, in their little book, and have this codex searchable by subject matter. Maybe there's like little tabs, and the tab's like the Awoken tab, and you open up the Awoken tab, and wouldn't you know it, all the Awoken lore entries are there. Or you have the Exo tab, and all the Exo lore entries are there. Or you have the Hive and the Exotics, and you have like, maybe you could have your newest lore tabs first and your oldest lore tabs last, so you can go through and find what you found when you found it, or etc, etc, etc. And it's not like this system isn't already in game, because that's how our vault is kind of sorted already. So perhaps, maybe, just maybe, they won't fuck this up. I know I'm being really negative, but I've been excited for other things in the past. Like, I was excited to meet Osiris, I was excited for Warmind, and then somehow, some way, they fuck it up. Well, we know how they fucked it up. I have an entire video series on how they fucked it up, but I digress. One of the things that I would like to see going forward with Grimoire 2.0 is if it doesn't release with everything from the past, I want to see them periodically update the Grimoire. maybe they could release New Grimoire when they release the physical anthologies. Like, they're going to release the Dark Mirror, and it's going to have the Book of Sorrows and a bunch of Hive stuff in it. So maybe they could release that and update the Grimoire 2.0 as well. Another thing that they could do, and I can't believe me of all people are suggesting this, but reality versus fantasy, right? Destiny 2 has basically seen several retcons since day one. And the writers have taken to Twitter and said, "Poke your lore," and this, that, and the other. Well, Bungie's writing team, anyone listening, you could use this Grimoire 2.0 as an opportunity to lay out what is actually canon in the universe of Destiny. Because at this point, it seems Destiny canon is based purely on whatever the writer has decided to read at that point, regardless of what's actually in the lore. Now, I know I'm being a little harsh when I'm basically getting what I asked for, but until I see how it's implemented, I'm being cautiously optimistic. Because, let's face it, Bungie hasn't given us a lot of reason to be super confident anytime they say something over the last year. So, as excited as I am for this, and please believe me, I am super fucking excited for this. But I still have to look at it like, well, Curse of Osiris, Warmind, Destiny 2, how could this go wrong? How will they miss the point? But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. And like always, stay frosty.